Hello everyone, and welcome to a very nice game from round 6 of the 2018 Biel Chess Festival. It's a game from Nico Georgiadis, the local Swiss Grandmaster, and Shakhriyar Mamedyarov. Now, Nico is not having the greatest tournament so far. From the first 5 rounds, he lost 4 games, but he did draw 1 game, and it's a game he played against Magnus Carlsen. So if you're gonna draw a game against someone, you know, make it against the world champion. So before we check out this very nice game, we do have a nice photo challenge. It's a completely different one, because this time it's not a human we're looking for. So there you have it. Now I'm pretty sure like 99% of you can recognize the Grandmaster on the right. It's of course Levan Aronyan of Armenia, but the photo challenge is actually who is his canine friend on the left. Someone told me in the chat, I believe, well, I posted not this photo, but another photo of Levan and this fellow here, that his name translates to donut in Russian or something like that. So there you have it. Best of luck to everyone. Now, we do have a nice photo of this matchup. There you have it. It's a photo from the official Biel Chess Festival website. There is a link to it in the description below. You can check out some of the other photos. It was taken by Simon Bohenblust. And we also have another nice photo. It's actually a photo from a duck family, also from the official Biel Chess Festival website. I don't know why it's there. Probably Simon had you know, some time before the round started, so you know, he strolled around and took some nice photos. And you know, you know, who doesn't love a duck family? So there you have it. Now let's check out this game. Nico opens with e4. We have c5, the Sicilian, knight to f3, d6, d4, c captures, knight to f6, so all pretty standard, knight to c3, and Mamedyarov goes for the Najdorf variation, a6. Bishop to e2, e5, knight to b3, as the knight was attacked, bishop to e7, bishop to e3, and bishop to e6. And here we have knight to d5, one of my favorite moves during bullet and hyper bullet games, trying to get black to capture e4 pawn. If black captures it, then of course bishop to b6 comes, attacking the queen, and after the queen moves, knight c7 check wins the rook on a8. So a very nice idea, but of course Mamedyarov does not capture the e4 pawn. Knight b to d7 is played. Queen to d3 now, and now comes bishop captures on d5. Pawn captures on d5, and now rook to c8. We have c4, we have castles by Mamedyarov, castles by Nico, and now what do you do here? Well, all of your pieces are pretty much developed. You definitely want to find a nice square for your queen, although that's, for the moment, that's not really possible. It's not, c7 isn't such a great square for the queen. So what you want to do is somehow get this pawn all the way to f5, and you know, it should somehow be protected on f5. So Mamedyarov goes knight to e8, preparing f5. We have queen to d2, and queen to d2 is a very nice move because it kind of discourages black from pushing f5 immediately due to queen to b4, attacking the b7 pawn, and after black takes care of this in some fashion, then c5 would be an idea, getting rid of this weak backwards pawn. So after queen to d2, Mamedyarov first tends to the queen side. We have b6, rook 8 to c1, and now a5, not allowing the queen to even think about coming to b4, and already a4 is an idea to kick the knight away from b3. Knight to a1, immediately Nico brings it back, and he wants to push a3 and b4. Not in that order, of course. If you push a3, then you will get a4, but b3, a3, and only then b4 would be nice for white. But now Mamedyarov, as he does have you know, a moment here, he does push f5. We have f3, making room for the bishop, f4, bishop to f2, and now Mamedyarov finds a very nice way how to get his queen into the game. He plays bishop to h4. Now, of course, capturing the bishop would allow the queen to enter the game, so we have bishop to d3, and now bishop captures on f2 with check. Queen captures on f2, and now comes knight to c5, attacking the bishop on d3. We have bishop to c2, which is not the greatest of moves. Better would be queen to c2, but you know, the idea is that you wanna have the c2 square available for this knight at some point. So if this knight will ever capture the bishop, queen will recapture, and then the c2 square will be available for the knight. But okay, bishop to c2, we have g6 now, rook to e1, and now comes knight to g7, preparing to bring the knight either to h5 or f5, depending on what white plays. And here Nico doesn't really like his setup. He's discouraged from going knight to b3 to try and get rid of black's knight here and activate his a1 knight. So rather bishop to e4 is played. He wants to bring his knight over to c2. So, you know, you know, if he really wants to bring it to c2, it's better to do it this way than to now play knight to b3 just because you have a bishop on c2. So queen to d7 and now knight to c2. We have knight to f5 and now comes b3. King to h8 and now rook to b1, preparing a3 and b4. Knight back to g7, we have knight to a3 now, knight to f5, and here we have knight to b5. The knight is very useful there. Nico was able to activate it. It's pressuring the d6 pawn, but also it can become an active piece again via knight to c3. Rook to f6, bringing the rook over to help out with the defense of the d6 pawn, but also maybe preparing to bring the other rook over to the king side. We have a3, and now comes g5. An interesting idea here would definitely be knight to e3. For some reason, Mamedyarov doesn't, you know, appreciate this idea. It's a very nice square for the knight, this e3 square, and later you can push maybe g5 and g4. And the idea is that it's not all that easy to get rid of this knight from e3. You would need two moves with this knight to get rid of it. But okay, for some reason Mamedyarov doesn't do it. Instead he plays g5, and Nico doesn't think too much of this knight move either, as he doesn't capture it with the bishop. Rather he brings the knight back into the game. Knight to c3. We have knight to d4 now, and now comes b4. A captures on b4, and now rook captures on b4. Nico doesn't play the A captures on b4, which seems like a more obvious move, attacking the knight and, you know, improving your pawn structure, but it would actually only help black. After knight captures, then rook g6 is coming, and then g4. Black is the only one that has something to play here. So after A captures on b4, Nico plays rook captures on b4, now immediately attacking the b6 pawn. But Mamedyarov doesn't think twice. He simply pushes g4 and starts attacking on the king side. Now capturing the pawn here would give black simply too much. After capturing here, you have to capture with the pawn, then you've opened up, well, of course not with that rook, but you've opened up the g file, and queen a7 with an attack on the rook can easily come into play via the queen side. So after g4, we have queen to h4, now attacking Mamedyarov's rook on f6, but also pressuring the h7 square if the queen ever moves from d7. We have knight captures on e4, knight captures on e4, and now comes rook to g6. Of course, again, pressuring this g captures here. And that's not the only threat Mamedyarov has here. Of course, there is an even bigger threat. Well, this is the biggest threat, but, you know, you can't stop everything. Knight to c2 is also a big threat, forking both rooks. So here f captures on g4 was played, but there's really nothing better to do. If you move the rook, you know, to avoid the fork, then capturing here will be a winning game for black. So instead, Nico tries f captures on g4, and he allows knight to c2, as he does have to do it. We have rook captures on b6, now comes knight captures on e1, and here Nico doesn't capture the knight here, although it does seem like the most logical thing to do. But Nico already lost 4 games, he only drew 1, and he's going for everything, he's going all in. He goes knight to f6, now pressuring again the h7 square and also attacking the queen here. And okay, the knight is still attacked. Mamedyarov plays queen to g7, still defending the h7 square, but this comes with a double attack on the knight. We have rook captures on d6, now the knight is defended twice, but now a very simple move takes care of every threat Nico might have had in mind. Rook to h6, simply attacking Nico's queen, and the queen has to move. There's really no good square for the queen to keep this attack going, so queen captures on e1, and now comes rook captures on f6, and it was in this position that Nico decided to finally resign the game. There's really nothing you can do here. After captures, okay, you do have three passed pawns. These two are connected passed pawns, but you know they are no match for the rook. So yeah, that's the game, a game from round 6 of the 2018 Biel Chess Festival. And before I forget, I did prepare the final, not the final standings, but the final standings after the first leg of this tournament, as it is a double round robin. So now that 6 games have been played, now there will be a rest day tomorrow, and then we're gonna have everyone will play against everyone once again. So there we have it. Mamedyarov took the lead here, 4.5 points out of 6. Carlsen in second place, 4 out of 6. You know, none of them have lost any games, but since Carlsen was unable... Carlsen is the only player in this tournament who did not beat young Nico. So, you know, and that cost him first place for now. But, you know, the tournament, there's still another half to the tournament, so who knows what might happen. But, you know, a very nice performance by Mamedyarov, definitely. Then in third place we have Peter Svidler, then David Navara, Maxime Vachier-Lagrave, and then Nico Georgiadis in last place with only half a point. But that half a point came from drawing a game with the world champion Magnus Carlsen. So yeah, that was the game. I do hope you enjoyed it. And that you are enjoying the coverage of this Biel Chess Festival so far. I would like to thank James Kotzinski for a contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot, I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you soon, as tomorrow is a rest day in Biel, probably with two Bobby Fischer games, or if something comes up, you know, you never know when they might, you know, bring AlphaZero back to play chess. You know, we might show something like that. So yeah, thank you all, and I will see you soon.